right. So this is Serania, the Path of the Scion. And so whenever I hear Path of Scion, I do think of League of Legends. It's probably just because I'm a nerd. So I think I have the full game. So I'm not going to click on buy full game, even though that still is available. Preparing content. Okay, so this is a story-based game, so this is going to be very up our alley slash wheelhouse to discuss some of these things. So before we begin the adventure, one question remains. Do you want your main character to be a man or a woman? Sharp to a man. Keep it simple. Now your story is ready. You can play the first quarter of the game for free. After this, you can buy access. Which I thought they did send me a code, but we'll try it out. And if I'm still excited by the second quarter of the game, we'll figure it out. Wake up. Okay, so in writing, it's a very, 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 very common trope to have things start when a character awakens. Extremely common trope. Um, and so it's one to use cautiously. Um, I don't know if I would recommend doing it unless you have a very specific reason for starting with a character awakening. You cannot even explain why, but you know it even before you hear the increasing thunder of horse hooves. So again, a little bit over description here, right? We don't need so you don't need to say horse hooves. Like if it if I see thunder of hooves, I know what that generally is implying. So again, there's probably some tweaks the writer can do here to lean out some of their dialogue. Likewise, thunder of hooves is also a very commonly used phrase, right? Like you see that in a lot of books, a lot of stories. And so this goes back to that same thing that we were talking about with the other game, right? Which is saying, how are you going to set your story world apart? How are you going to set your writing world apart? How are you going to make it stand out as unique and different? So something to think about. So I hear thunder, something is wrong, danger is ahead. No, the sounds intensify, shouting, screaming, galloping. You know what's funny is I think I know what text. so so this is funny because we're building a game with some stories like this, and I think they're using Text Mesh Pro on Unity because it always like stalls at ellipses. It like slows down at ellipses, and they just turn the animation speed way up, which is awesome. I mean, Text Mesh Pro is a great tool, but because I think you're using that, I'm gonna expect to see like wiggly words and cool stuff like that. So we'll see if that happens. I wonder what backbone they're using. It's maybe Inkle. Oh, nice. They had adjustments for text speed. Okay. Show hints. Ooh. Is this my profile? My character stats. Okay, so this feels very choice of gamesy. The sounds intensify. Galloping horses, a smell of smoke. You hear crackling and you see flames suddenly spreading rapidly across the wall and up to the ceiling. Open the barn door and get out. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go to the back door. You move towards the back door, all flames and smoke spread too fast. The smoke is insufferable. Your eyes are watering. Your lungs burn. You're coughing, lighting to throw yourself. Oh my god. You reach the rear wall of the barn where there is a small door. You open the door and crawl out coughing. Do I get lung cancer? The barn is on a hill. You look around, scared. So the art's obviously really nice. I like the interplay of text and background art. That's always a really great thing to have. And you look around, scared. So there's a few risks with the second person. Um, Using second person. So one thing, because I've written choose your adventure games like this, and one thing I always lean towards is to have them in the first person. It's very, very similar to the second person. Most readers don't really feel any difference, but it lets you more easily dictate action without the reader feeling pressure, right? And that's one of the risks of second person because you're saying, I'm looking around the hills scared. Am I scared? I don't feel scared. So again, um, it doesn't feel like when anything on the text is disagreeing with what the reader is sensing or feeling in their own experience, it's going to cause a little dissonance. So food for thought there. Village is underground by riders in black. They seem to be every. So again, so anything like seem to be. So this is going to be, because this is writing. This is going to be a little bit more of a grammatical game review, right? So anything like seem to be is always something you want to watch out for, right? Because you're telling it to me, or I'm the viewpoint character. I don't know the difference between seeming and experiencing, right? So like use that, right? So this would be like the village. That's very very abstract. If you want to stay in the second person, you could say riders are attacking your village. They're everywhere, everywhere. Like stuff like that, right? And you say like, and then another bar. One, one lit a house on, or one is lighting a house on fire. So, because I guess this isn't, yeah, some arc, yeah. So the two are at the back of town, burning houses. I don't need to know they're carrying torches, because the fact that they're burning houses means they have a fire supply. And you also have this wonderful image, right? So I don't necessarily need as much specificity there. Others have raised their swords ready to strike. Black blades, a man yells. I like that you have a different color for dialogue. Black blades, the infamous soldiers of the king, but why? Okay, so I do like that you know, you have narration here, you have thoughts, and you have dialogue. Um, a lot of modern writing will not separate, except in context, narration and thoughts. Um, whether or not you want to do that, it's kind of up to you. One thing I would encourage you to do, and I actually have an article on this in the little Final Boss blog. I actually didn't open up my screen chat bot. Shame on me. Let's do that. Is it going to come up? But essentially, there's some really good tips on using highlighters to read prose, because this is essentially prose, right? This is interactive prose, but it's prose. Read some prose. Really try to sit down and figure out, hey, what's the right balance for me, and then go from there. So if I do, I think it's highlighter. No, come on. There we go. That's the blog post on highlighters. There we go. You can check that out. There are not many blackblades nearby right now. Figure waves you from the other side of the road. You recognize him. It's Helmar. So again, verbal doubling, right? You recognize him. It's Helmar. So again, you can take out that you recognize him, right? Because by having the line, it's Helmar, the blacksmith. So one of the men is too vague, right? Like, I know, like, if I'm this character, I would know. So you don't have to leave it vague, like one of the men, right? To say, it's Helmar, the blacksmith. You run over. You do not like Helmar. He's a jerk. Or, I guess I didn't realize you didn't like him until just now. People say he's selfish. So again, this is a lot of interiority and a lot of exposition happening really early in a story, right? So this would say, I think, is like something to revise, right? This is potentially a risk here, in terms of saying, hey, it sells on Muller for a dude who's acting strange around you for a while now. But how, right? He's never given you any attention previously. You've been noticing, keeping an eye on you. Escape the black blades. Helmar runs to you. Do you still have that piece of jewelry with the crystal? As it always has. The crystal necklace has always been yours. You wore it when you were adopted by the forest folk as a baby. Helmar nods. Good. Come, I can help it. Help this way. Cinches your arm in a hard grip. Tell yourself, F Helmar, dude. Helmar's eyes turn cold. Not a chance. You're coming with me. Pull out your knife. Teach you a lesson, you little forest spawn. There's a reward for me whether you're dead or alive. Hisses and draws his own knife. Try to strategy with you. Catch him with your free hand. But he grabs hold of your knife arm. The same. So again, I feel like there's a few issues here, right? Like, one, I wonder if we could lean more on dialogue. We're doing so much in narration, so much in interiority, and that shifts it. Because I think one of the opportunities with it depends on your goals as a writer, right? But the more you lean into prose, the more you really have to lean on interiority, on thought, on the character's perceptions, on the difference between what the character perceives and what the reader thinks is actually going on. So the more you lean into prose, the more second person is going to just have complications, right? It's a much harder thing to pull off in true prose. So the more you lead into dialogue and into quick exchanges and a much more almost graphic novel type thing where we're seeing these background images, we're reading the dialogue, that sort of thing, the more, that will kind of have a little bit of its own momentum. Helmer's arms are strong. He struggles to keep his knife away from yourself. Let him think he's winning and then attempt to counter kick him, try to swipe his legs. Sure. Give him Helmer's. Kill him. Helmer. Up, rip. Stab him again. Kill his mother effer. He stares at you. He collapses. Goes limp. Get some, Helmar. Experience. Oh, nice. I got some XP. Group of blast blades are looking. You look around desperately. On your left is a sheepfold. You can let them loose, but you have to be fast. And your right is a wagon. If you open the side wagon, logs will spill out. So I guess that's one of the problems, right? With choose your adventure stuff done like this, is that with this stylistic choice, you are always going to tell me the choices twice. Right? So and then it's going to stop the action, right? Because I'm immediately going into my interiority and saying, there's a sheep pen here. I can probably create a diversion. There's a, wagon over here. I can probably hide behind the wagon or open the side and drop the logs. But you'll need to be strong. So I got to check my stats. I'm not super strength, but I'm very high agility. So I'm guessing that's my fastness. Release the sheep and create a diversion. So, because again, you're saying it twice, right? So, honestly, you could just say on your left is a sheepfold and on your right is an old wagon full of tree logs. And then you could have the detailed plan of what you would do in the choice buttons, right? Like, you don't have to state it up here in the character's internal thoughts, because every time you're jumping into a character's internal thoughts, and this is something I struggle with in my own writing, so it's not like, you know, preaching to the choir here, maybe. But what up, Itanchi? How's it going? But every time you jump into a character's thoughts, you're slowing pacing, right? You're slowing pacing. You're, especially in second person, you're making the reader ask, would I be thinking the same things? Because you're saying it's about me, so would I be making the same choices and those types of things. So yeah, a little bit of some trade-offs there. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm gonna do the sheep because I'm fast. Storm ahead and open the fold. Creates a diversion. Hold. At the same time, you throw yourself on the ground and crawl all fours between the sheet. You manage to escape. Got some XP. Let's go. 25 out of 100. Put a firm hand on your shoulder. Come along quickly. Run. You whirl around. It's Blarky. So again, oh darn. Man, I was gonna. It's always Blarky who turns up when you're in danger. A lot older than you. He's only the one in the village who's a forest spawn like you. You've never been able to figure him out, but you cannot think of anyone you would rather see right now. But you see the fear in his eyes. Then you'd go. They're killing everyone. I mean, I don't think I need to tell Balaki anything about Helmar. There's a way out. So again, you have this character art for Balaki. On these dialogue tags, one thing that is pretty helpful is to have the character art next to them. And I don't know why we changed kind of like the scenes. I wish I could kind of continuously go back up, but I guess that's fine. Think between the horses. You press against the house. Look to your left. 5 men armed with pitchforks. Yeah, second person present tense is always like a. I feel like it's a point of view that's impactful, but it gets kind of tiring. Like, it's very like stream of consciousness. So what is this? This is a game called. I totally forgot. Something of Scion. Um, let's see if it says it in the settings. Nope. Maybe I can go back. Serania, Path of Scion. Okay, so that's good. They're about 25 meters away. So, I was doing a few game reviews tonight, so I haven't done my little like let's play reviews in a while. I think I did one like a week ago, and I was like, all right, I gotta step up and get a few of these out the door because it's fun. It's fun. Keeps me on my toes. And I've been doing a lot of game design myself, and actually narrative design. So it's always good to see the pros and cons and to be like, okay, if I wanted to go second person, what are some of the pitfalls that might be there? And if I wanted to go, first person, I'm finding those pitfalls myself. So a lot of that's the fun bit. Run as fast as you can across the road. Wait. I'm agile, man. Let's go. Cross the road. The village men seek you. Two on foot. You run as fast as you can. Help fighting. Come on, man. Turn around and run towards the men. No. Maybe you can wound him in the leg. So again, like some of the writing here is a little. You hear a strange sound from behind you, like the wind soughing. To the forge. There, the forge. Okay, there's more of them. So one thing to think about, right, is we're a few minutes. Actually, looking at the clock, we're 15 minutes into this story, and the type of conflict really hasn't changed, right? Like we had one untrustworthy townsperson, and then we're just getting kind of a loop of like these sketchy guys in town, right? Um, One thing to think about as the writer will be how do I change the timbre of the action as it progresses, right? So we first think they're a raiding party, and then maybe we've learned that they're looking for you, and they're saying, "Hey, you get over here," and we'll leave these people alone, and maybe there's some sort of threat implied. So again, just having him be like, "I pull out my knife," I pull out like because I'm dealing with all the problems in a very similar way, right? Where this sketchy guy tries to turn me in, stab him. These big, soldiers are attacking my town. Pull out my knife, try to get them. And then I know there's other options in stealth, but the obstacles are very, very similar in quality. Physical danger obstacles, right? Um, and the sooner you can have variety in your conflicts, generally the more complex your story is going to be. You're wounded. Looks like large dried leaves. Puts the hand in his clothes and presses leaves. You shriek in pain, but then the pain abates and you cannot feel your wounds at all. Healing leaves from the savor herb. Sweet, thanks for the life. It's not going to endure. He goes to the. He gives you a torch and moves into the mine. There's a mine attached to this blacksmith's forge. That's crazy. The door splintered. Grabs hold. I guess. Like, is he like literally getting his own ore? Usually, like, so that strikes a little funny because usually the blacksmith's forge and the miners are like two different folks, and you're at least to my knowledge, right? Like maybe I'm just a dum dum, but I mean, and it's generally not even the blacksmith. It sometimes can be, but it's generally not even the blacksmith smelting ore and getting pure metal. It's generally like an intermediary, um, someone between the mine and the blacksmith, where that's happening. So it feels a little funky. More important than anything else, frees himself from the door. Flee through the forest. When you reach the vantage point, you look for a large oak tree. You'll know when you see it. Go to that tree and Eggle find you. You are important. You need to escape. Tumble down the shaft mine and drop your torch. You see the black blade closing on him. Everything goes dark. Quiet. So again, probably that extra line, and so there's a very another common piece of writing advice is usually the last line or sentence in your paragraph is most likely if you are going to cut something in that paragraph, that's most likely the one that you're going to cut because you're always saying a little bit more than you need to, right? Because you don't trust what you've written already, so you add a little bit more just to make sure people get it. So that and quiet definitely in my reading felt like it slotted into that category of did I need it? Did I need it? Probably not. Coughing, you try to feel your way ahead of you, but you bang your head against something hard and fall. What just happened? Why are you important? I'm at the bottom of mine. I'm just gonna hustle. You wait on all fours. Because again, those two options didn't seem like they moved the plot forward. It was just like think about what just happened. And again, and this is another piece of writing feedback I get a lot, right? Which is like, Jeff, remember, writing time is different than reading time. For the writer, you may have had like a weekend go by or 2 days go by since I saw that person saying I was important. But for the reader, that happened 10 seconds ago. So like having an option, which I'm guessing would have just recapped that stuff, feels like it's burning time. Flame is gone. Your inventory. Okay, I like that we have these interactions to take a closer look at. Tunnel of the Mind. So this is more interesting. These kind of like this options menu is actually quite interesting. I think this is the most innovative part of the game, right? Which is like using these like scroll choice menus and kind of the breadcrumbs, because at the top it takes me back, right? That is really smart. I don't think I've seen that very often before in Choose Your Adventures, and I think it belongs in them. So honestly, this menu here, I'm asking myself why I haven't seen it sooner, because this seems like the most thoughtful and new way and seamless way. Like it still fits right into this linear flow of this, and I might even just use this idea for one of our projects because this is a fantastic idea. I mean, though I don't know why I would want to drop. You're not ready to get rid of the knife. Okay, so it doesn't let me do silly things. Examine the knife. The handle is made of wood and the blade is made of the best iron. Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. I like this menu system a lot. A lot. It's very cool. I'm going to screenshot it because I'm going to share it with our team and say, this is a great idea. Make sparks and light, sure. Light the torch. Let's go. But why didn't that come up earlier? Did I have to examine it before I got more options? Oh, I like that the background changes and becomes light. Look at the nice around you. See the entrance collapse. The mine dives into 2 tunnels. So again, whenever you're in a choose your adventure and you have like go left or go right, it's a very flat option, right? Like there's no way that I'm going to express who I am through that choice, right? It's just a coin toss. So I don't get to put my personal self in the story in any way by a choice like this, nor does the story tell me anything more about itself. Like, even just giving some flavor text, like this tunnel smells like fresh air. This tunnel has light in it. Might have seen those in my first CYY. Yeah, you like those choice structures. So youth. Yeah. So opening appears in your right hand. But again, I still want to congratulate the writer for doing this, right? They made a game, they made a project. That's something that a lot of people don't do, and I think it's something to feel really good about. And to say, hey, you know what? You did great. My cat is trying to claw her way into the garage. But yeah, I think there's always a little bit more you can add to spice that up. So I'm going to get to the next choice, and I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap on this game. But honestly, really interesting. Go through the tunnel. Go through the opening. Let's get out of here. You walk along a new tunnel. I kind of want to get to one of the things that kills me, Take a closer look at the wall. Bulging. Give me that. Come on. Your inventory. Necklace with a crystal. Examine. Okay. Take off. Drop. So again, this is the risk of the second person, right? If I want to be silly, and this is what Disco Elysium does very well. I should make one before I dare. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can do more. Yes, please, Itanchi, make one of these. I think it's such a good way to just have a published game in your name. It's really easy. I mean, there's so many tools you should use. Ink. They're probably using Ink, TextMesh Pro, and a few of these things to make this happen. And that's all you need, and some shifting backgrounds in Unity. And I think it's a really great way to get a story out there. Um, yeah, because Ink has a Unity plugin. TextMesh Pro is amazing, and it's really easy to set these projects up. Um, a gold piece. Examine. I only have one. Drop. Okay, so I can drop something. It just doesn't let me drop like quest items. But again, I would still say that one of the things that makes Disco Elysium so interesting is that they let you do all the crazy, silly things that you kind of wanted. Like, when you say, "Hey, will the game actually let me do this?" and the game says no most of the time. But in Disco Elysium, they say, "Okay, go ahead, go down that road, see what happens." And it definitely creates interesting experiences. And that's the thing, right? Is with games, the one thing I'm finding and learning more myself as I make games is it's less about the story that I want to tell and more about giving the reader an interaction that will give them a memorable experience. And the story that you want to tell is a part of that experience. And it's most likely what will give that experience emotional depth and complexity, but it's also secondary to the thing the player wants to experience, and letting them, you know, push on those experience boundaries and build something for themselves gives them a lot more ownership. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this game, and we'll do a quick review on it. So I would say overall, I'd say this game is probably a 5 out of 10, right? Story, which is the core of the game, has a few challenges and issues. I do think that the visuals and the imagery is very nice. I think this is a cool way of doing the story. Again, there was a little bit of blurriness, right? Like, so these blue bars are used as actions, but sometimes there, my headphones died on me. But sometimes they come in as thoughts, right? Like, so thought, like reported thought was blue. So again, some of those syntax things seem a little off. I do think this little menu system is absolutely fantastic and a brilliant idea. And so I think whatever the developer, however they evolve this further, they should definitely continue to lean into that. Um, and yeah, I think the narrative is probably, I would say, a 4 out of 10. I like the idea. I think we got, and that's the thing. Like, normally, if this was like a normal game, I would probably be a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Right? There's conflict, there's characters, there's some flavor text. But because this is so heavily focused around narrative, I'm going to rate it a lot more strictly. Right? Where we had some challenges, I think we had some strengths. Right? We have interesting backstory. We have some complexity in the village life. These sketchy people, and we have this incoming conflict. These folks are looking for, I'm assuming, me, the character. But the drawbacks were we got a little bit. Some of the prose, because it's so heavily prose dependent, wasn't functioning quite as well as I think it could have. Um, I'm not going to comment on the second person point of view. I think that just contributed to some of the pros being weak, but I think that's up to the developer's choice whether they want to lean further into that or not. Again, some of the choice structure, we've got a lot of verbal doubling, a lot of restating where we just say the same thing a few times and you could skip through it and say, okay, okay, okay. But a lot of the goal of writing is economy and saying, how can I express as much as I can with as little text as possible, leveraging the reader's own imagination to build it out. But yeah, overall, I think this was a great project. I think I did rate this a 6 out of 10. I think the gameplay side is like a 7 out of 10, and the cat, I'm gonna. Anyways, I have to let my cat in the garage, and I'll be right back. Take care, everybody.